You know how a casual scroll through the internet can sometimes lead you down some weird rabbit holes? Well, this story is about one of those times. Except this rabbit hole led to a terrifying real world threat. This is a modern cautionary tale, and it comes directly from someone's deeply unsettling personal account. And this is where it all kicks off. Not with some spooky ghost in a haunted house, but with a single sentence. A line of text that just perfectly sets the tone for the absolute dread that's about to unfold. This isn't just a story, it's a promise of real, genuine fear. So let's paint a picture of our narrator here. They're an introvert dealing with a chronic illness, and they're an aspiring horror author. Basically, someone who, for totally understandable reasons, spends a lot of time online. And it's right there, in that digital world, that this whole thing gets started. Okay, so imagine this. They're just scrolling through a paranormal subreddit, the kind of place filled with ghost stories and weird encounters, when they spot something odd. It's a recruitment post for a super mysterious group called Les Veilleurs, which translates to the Watchers. The link takes them to this really slick, well-designed website that is also incredibly strange. And their first thought? Total scam. This just screams like some ploy to take advantage of people who are maybe a little too eager to believe. So they do what a lot of us might do. They find the contact form and just fire off this snarky, sarcastic message, basically calling them out and making fun of their whole conspiracy vibe. But then, to their complete surprise, they get a reply, and it's friendly. It's from a guy named Dubois. Instead of getting mad, he completely flips the script. He's not spouting the usual conspiracy stuff. In fact, he kind of debunks it all, saying the real truth is something way darker, something that doesn't fit into any of our neat little boxes of how the world works. And just like that, the narrator is hooked. I mean, this isn't some simple scammer. This is something else entirely. They're totally intrigued, and so they start digging. They're determined to figure out who this Civi Dubois guy is and what his secretive group is all about. So this becomes the big question, right? Who are these people? Is this whole thing an elaborate prank, a cult, or something else? The narrator launches their own little investigation. But as they're about to find out, the Watchers are really, really good at staying hidden. So they start digging, and almost immediately they hit a brick wall. A Google search for the group? Nothing. That original Reddit post? Poof, gone. The website itself is impossible to find unless you have the direct link. They've basically wiped their digital footprint clean. There's only one tiny thread left to pull, the name Dubois, which happens to be linked to a real wealthy Belgian family that owns a chemical company. Now, our narrator, who admits to being a sucker for history, finds out the family owns this old castle in the Ardennes. So they ask Dubois about it. Seems like a harmless question, right? Just historical curiosity. And that's when everything changes. The friendly emails just stop. Complete radio silence. Okay, so Dubois has gone completely silent. What do? You go somewhere else. The narrator starts posting in other online communities, asking if anyone's heard of this family. Most people have no clue. But then, one man, a Belgian guy living in England, sends a message. And what he has to say is absolutely chilling. And this guy, he just unloads. He claims the Dubois family is some kind of elitist cult, and that horrible things, murder, torture, witchcraft happen at that castle. He says they lure people in with things like fake job postings, and get this, he says his own sister was one of their victims. He warns the narrator straight up, stop digging. The local police are paid off, there's nothing you can do. After hearing all this, they are understandably terrified. They tell their sister everything, and they both agree. This has gone way too far. This is dangerous. So they decide to just drop it, to try and forget this whole bizarre, frightening thing ever happened. And for a while, everything goes quiet. Life kind of goes back to normal. Then one day, an email pops into the narrator's inbox. It's from Dubois. For a split second, they feel a flash of excitement, like, finally, a response. And then that feeling is instantly replaced by pure, cold shock. The email is a direct threat, but here's the kicker. It has an attachment. And that attachment is filled with screenshots of their private DMs with the Belgian man. This was proof. They were being watched, every message, every word. The message is simple: back off. And in this twisted, terrifying way, he basically tells them the only reason they're still alive is because they're not important enough to kill. But it gets so much worse. To prove just how serious they are, Dubois starts listing off personal information. First up, the narrator's exact home address. Just imagine that feeling for a second. Your safe space, completely exposed. Then it gets closer to home. They list their father's place of work and his personal cell phone number. Suddenly, the threat isn't just about them anymore. It's about their entire family. And it doesn't stop there. Next on the list, their mother's phone number. That circle of fear just keeps getting wider and wider, pulling everyone they love into this digital nightmare. And finally, this is the one that sends a chill right down their spine. They knew the address of their sister's high school. For the narrator, who would do anything to protect their family, this is the absolute worst-case scenario. Their innocent curiosity has now put the people they care about most in direct physical danger. So at this point, the narrator is living in absolute terror. But the story isn't quite over. The final horrifying piece of the puzzle, the thing that confirms this is all deadly real, comes from the last place you'd expect, an international news broadcast. They're just watching the news, and a story comes on. A Belgian man has been found dead under mysterious circumstances. And as they read the victim's name on the screen, their blood runs cold. It's him. It's the man who warned them, the man they had been talking to online. Let's just lay this out, piece by horrifying piece. First, they get the email with all their personal data and a death threat. Then, they see the news report. Their one source, their informant, is dead. And finally, one last email lands in their inbox from Dubois. The message? Simple and bone-chilling. You will end up like my friend. The connection was crystal clear. The threat was absolutely real. So, after all of that, after this harrowing journey into the dark corners of the internet, what's the takeaway? What does this absolute nightmare of a story teach us about the dangers that can be lurking in our own online lives? It all boils down to this one desperate plea from the person who actually lived through it. It's a stark, brutal warning that the line we think exists between our digital lives and our physical lives, well, it's just an illusion. You just never, ever know who is on the other side of that screen. And sometimes simple curiosity can lead you to a place you can never truly come back from.